Home Gas is a proud sponsor of CMR's Storm Ready 2022, as we stand ready to support you before, during, and after any storm. Here at Home Gas, our team of managers, field experts, and customer service agents work overtime to ensure that you are covered during hurricanes. With over 65 years of experience, we have been here with you through tropical depressions and major hurricanes like no one else. The same real-world experienced team that saw you through catastrophic Hurricane Ivan is still here, poised to continue offering the best service before, during, and after the storm. Contact us today at 345-949-7474 or email info@homegas.net.
All right, folks, good evening and welcome to another edition of Storm Watch 2020. It is, I'm beginning to lose count of the days here. I believe it's Sunday, September the 25th. Is that right, Kevin? Today is Sunday, right?
You are correct. Yes. Today is Sunday, September 25th.
And we're expecting, I guess, is it still Ian? Sorry.
Ian, tropical storm Ian.
Still tropical storm. I saw that it had come down a little bit in strength. But before we get you to give us an update, we do have the Deputy Governor in the back studio here, as well as Lieutenant Colonel Simon Watson. We also have Sasha Tibbetts from CUC joining us. Let's just go ahead and pull the Deputy Governor in because I know his time is really, really precious as he's actually chairman of NEOC, which is the emergency organization that all government agencies kind of pull together. And they're centralized and stationed now at the government admin building. So good evening, Deputy Governor. How are you?
Good evening. I am very well. How are you?
Yes, good. We're getting ready now. I just saw the notice go out that everyone should be off of the road. And so that's good advice, folks, to make sure that you're staying home at this point. There's no need for you to be out there. There's no grocery stores open or anything else. So let's talk a little bit about what you guys are doing at Government Admin Building this evening.
Right. So thank you very much for having us, and good night to everyone in the Cayman Islands.
I can't hear you now. I'm not sure quite what happened there.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay now?
No, I heard you initially, so I'm not sure if something got touched.
I'm hearing him just fine. It might be your connection.
Okay. So should I continue?
Kevin, are you hearing him at all?
I'm hearing him. I think it's Sandy's connection.
For some reason, I'm not hearing you. So is it something on my end why I'm not hearing anyone?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Kevin?
I can hear you just fine.
You can hear me. Oh, okay. All of a sudden, I can't hear
I can
anyone,
also hear Deputy Governor as well.
On my end.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Oh, I know what I just did. My apologies. I meant to mute the tab for WhatsApp, and I muted this tab instead.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Loud and clear. Yes.
Alrighty. So so thank you for having me. So the National Emergency Operations Center has been activated. We activated at 4 p.m. Today. So we have a large group of civil servants, public servants, all there with one common purpose, and that is to manage the island response to the approaching storm. And we have a number of strategic aims, which I'll read out shortly. But what we're doing now is making sure that we are prepared and that the country is prepared for the storm. The one thing that has been common in this leading up to the storm is that it is very unpredictable. It hasn't done the things that we would normally expect from a tropical storm or something that is forming into a hurricane. It keeps moving around. It keeps changing its intensity. But the one thing that everyone agrees is that it is a very dangerous. It has the potential to be a very dangerous system, and I think people are. The forecasters are saying this could become the storm of the season, a Category 4 or Category 5. Pray that happens after it leaves the Cayman Islands. But we also pray then for where it's going and that it doesn't cause any significant damage. So we have been working very hard to make sure that we are ready. So we have a number of clusters where we have human concerns. They, for example, look into our moving some vulnerable people that had asked to be moved. We had moved some persons away from the shoreline and moved them into to better locations. We have opened up our shelters, and we have about 88 persons in the shelter at the moment
Mm-hmm.
between all districts and Cayman Brac. We have, for example, we have 20 persons in John Gray. And we have 15 persons in West Bay. We have 15 persons in East End. And we have some persons in Bottom Town as well. So we've been moving persons around, and I'm glad to see that persons are actually moving to the shelters. And we have been also making sure that those persons are properly resourced when they go to the shelters. We have 801 staff who have mobilized and are in the shelters along with police to provide assistance to persons who are going there. We have our emergency response cluster. So those are our police, our fire, the regiment. They're all geared up, and they have been strategically placed around the island so that they can respond. I'm speaking in relation to the regiment and RCIP and fire. We have our support services. So those are our persons that provide continuity of operations. So, computer services, other government agencies that provide support to the uniform services, to myself, to other agencies, so that we can keep everything moving very, very easily. And then, of course, we have infrastructure. So they are working very closely with utilities and our water companies to keep the lines of communication open and to ensure that we are doing everything we can to keep our people informed and safe.
Okay, very good. So it sounds like things are extremely organized from the government perspective, folks. And now is the time for you to please stay home. It's not time for you to be wandering about in the streets looking for any sort of wave action or breeze or anything like that. Don't be a roving reporter. Just stay home. That's the safest place to be. And if you find that being at home is not the safe place to be, then you need to be in a safe shelter. So we've got over 400 people on the live stream tonight as the storm Ian starts to move a little bit closer to us. So we really appreciate that update coming from the Deputy Governor first and foremost. We do have other people lined up that are going to be speaking to us this evening. Is there anything else that you would say to people at this stage?
Yes, Sarah, thank you very much. I really want to say this, is that we have continued the hurricane warning for Grand Cayman and the tropical storm warning for Cayman Brac. Because, again, of the unpredictable nature of the storm, and also because everyone agrees it is going to rapidly intensify at some point. So we want, out of abundance of caution, to keep those warnings on. We want our public, the members of the public, to abide by those warnings, stay inside, get prepared. We're also anticipating some really rough seas as the storm moves by us. So around the south coast and western coast, we're thinking about some really high seas, 10 feet seas. So we want persons who live in those areas to really pay attention and look to secure themselves. We don't want persons to be adversely affected by the heavy waves and rough seas that we expect. So right now, again, like you said, the government is prepared. We've been providing our elected leaders with the advice and the information they need to do their jobs, and they have charged us with making sure that we keep the public informed and everyone as safe as possible. And we take that responsibility very seriously, but we do need the public's cooperation. So I thank you for allowing me to come on and say a few words.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. And hopefully tomorrow we can check in again with the Deputy Governor. Again, the Deputy Governor is chairing NEOC, which is the emergency committee with all the different agencies that come together to really make sure from an operational perspective, a communications perspective, all the correct messages are getting out and everyone is aware of what all the other limbs of government is doing so that we can continue to be as safe as we can as a country. So we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, folks. That was Deputy Governor Frans Manderson. We've got Lieutenant Colonel Simon Watson also joining us. Good evening, Simon. How are you?
I'm good. Good evening, Sandra. Good evening, Kevin. Thank you very much for having me
Good
on.
evening, Simon.
It seems like a very long time ago. Spoke yesterday. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yeah. The communication's not too bad. It's not as perfect as last night, but we also know that you're at a different location. So this evening you're joining us from, is it John Gray High School?
It is, yes. Last night I was in my living room, and
Right.
today I'm at John Gray. So yeah, it's, so the regiment mobilizes. Well, actually mobilized this morning,
Right.
and we move our troops into what we call forward operating bases. We've got one located at John Gray, and that's A Squadron, and that covers the districts from West Bay, Georgetown, all the way through to Boddentown. And then we've forward located B Squadron to Clifton Hunter High School, and they're covering from Boddentown all the way through the Eastern Districts.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that for a number of reasons. One, to make sure that we have personnel across Grand Cayman, and also in the back bit across Grand Cayman, to be able to respond to incidents quickly, but also because we are aware that we've got the Savannah Gully risk of the roadway being washed away. So making sure that we've got personnel over in the Eastern District should that happen.
Yes. And can we see a little bit of your setup there? I saw earlier you posted, I'll see if I can put some of the pictures, some of the vehicles that are now basically on standby and ready to assist. And can we see a little bit of your setup there at John Gray? You're able to show us anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you a
flip
quick
the camera around if you'd like.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'll give you a quick update on where we are. So currently there's a lot of the vehicles are out on the ground. They're carrying out tasks. There's quite a bit of evacuation going on for vulnerable people who need assistance to move to the shelters. So many of the vehicles are out. What we've got in here, and as I move into the light, you can probably see me a bit better. So a lot of the troops who are here are either just come off one of those taskings or are ready to go out. So some of them will be getting some sleep. Some of them will be relaxing. We'll take a look inside here now, and as we look around, you'll see we're set up in the old canteen at John Gray High School. And we've got beds and the kit here, and it's so important when you're out 24 hours a day that the guys are taking the time to get some sleep, because we're driving heavy vehicles, we're using chainsaws, and it's really important that everyone has that opportunity to be able to rest and to get sleep so that they can fully function during the storm. We've got a lot of our disaster relief equipment here, which is A Squadron's kit. B Squadron have obviously taken theirs out to Clifton Hunter with them, and this is just a setup of all the different types of equipment that we would use in a disaster situation. A lot of the stuff is also preloaded into vehicles, so it's ready to go for specific taskings, and that's obviously out on the ground at the moment.
Right. Wow. So you guys seem like you're well prepared.
I mean, let's be honest. Every storm's different, and we will never take it for granted. But we're absolutely, we've got the men and women from Cayman who are out here serving their community. And actually, just on that, every storm's different, but this is very different for us. We've got 30 men and women who were doing basic training last month in August, and a month later they're now deployed, in service of their community across Cayman. So I think that's a really important story that you join the regiment and it is to serve your community, and within a month you're already out there, ahead of a potential hurricane.
All right, let me just show folks real quick, if I can, some of the vehicles that are out. That's part of the regiment. This is some of the vehicles that they've been able to secure. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here, Simon?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were very fortunate to be able to get a number of support vehicles just ahead of Grace. In fact, we managed to get them out of Customs on the day of Grace. So a huge shout out to our colleagues in Customs who helped us to get those out. And they were unbelievably useful. I mean, we were using wheel loaders to clear roadways with perfect timing. We've kind of been lucky again on this time that we've managed to get some of our operational vehicles into Cayman, and what you're seeing there, they're Toyota pickups, pickup trucks, and we've added a snorkel so that we've got a bit of higher water wading depth. and a winch at the front, and a canopy at the back, just to cover the kit and equipment that we hold in the backs of the vehicle. So these are our operational vehicles. We work in teams of 4 or 5. So clearly, being able to deploy teams across Cayman to be able to deal with a multitude of different incidents. Now, before we had these, we were using hire vehicles. In fact, we still had to hire 12 hire vehicles this time. But we're having to hire vehicles that really depends on what's available at the time. And going into Tropical Storm Eta in a soft top hire vehicle was not a great thing. So we're really very lucky to have these operational vehicles with us, because they do afford protection to the users. We've got hurricane mesh that we can fit to the windows and the windscreen, which is obviously able to stop flying debris. And as I say, they've got winch capability to help recover vehicles or self-recover if necessary. And it also means that having these vehicles with us now allows us to train on them before a storm. The drivers and operators are therefore familiar with those vehicles before they have to put them to the test.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, will you be stationed there? Or are you just kind of checking in on them at that location, and then you're going to head back to headquarters for NEOC?
Yeah, absolutely. I've just come from the NEOC, and I know we talked a little bit about it yesterday, and the Deputy Governor was on a second ago, and it's a fantastic setup. I mean, we should be so proud of what we have. It's all the different government agencies that support this effort, all working in the same room. So the communication is brilliant. So yes, I'm going to be heading back up to there in a minute. We've got a headquarters team up there who are sort of sending out taskings to A Squadron based here and B Squadron in Clifton Hunter. So yeah, quite a lot going on at the moment.
All right, wonderful. So we'll probably check in with you, I would say tomorrow morning sometime, as we start to get some of the really heavy bands. Kevin's going to give us an update in just a minute on that. But we do have CUC, who's also here to tell us a little bit about what we can expect from them as well. So Simon, we really appreciate it. Your guys are working extremely hard. And of course, we want to wish you all the best, and please stay safe.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And yes, definitely just take care of yourselves, everyone who's listening, and stay safe tonight.
All right, good. All right, we do have Sasha, who's now joining us from, there we go, Sasha, who's joining us from CUC, that's Caribbean Utilities Company. Sasha's VP of Customer Service. So Sasha, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us as well.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so listen, obviously we've been here before, people always need to be reminded of some of the things that they need to do in order to remain safe during the storm. So from the perspective of CUC, can you please remind us, I had someone messaging me earlier, what's going to happen with the power? When is it going to happen? So what normally is the standard protocol when it comes to how you deal with, provision of electricity during a storm?
Yeah, so we have a full operational staff on site right now. So the plant's obviously running, the lights are on. And we also have, I guess, the next shift on site already, knowing that they probably wouldn't be able to come in because it would be during the storm. We do make sure that our folks don't work more than a certain number of hours in a day for safety purposes. But, we've been preparing for this storm since I think Tuesday. We had our first discussion on it, when I think it sort of started to appear on the models. We realized, okay, this could be something serious. So I would say we've don't want to really tempt fate, but I think we're well prepared. We have done this before. We've done it. We've had tropical storm impacts for the last couple of years, and we've had some lessons learned from those. And I think we're in good shape. Back to how power will go throughout the storm, we're going to leave it running until it is not safe to do so. So what does that mean? Well, when in normal circumstances, if we have a tree hit a line, or if we have a car hit a pole and a line ends up on the ground, the circuit breakers that are controlling those circuits will detect that and automatically power off to that circuit. It's the same thing with the storm. And so if everything goes as we expect it would, if there is damage from the storm, circuit breaker protection systems would take that individual circuit out. And so it may be that if we have damage to some of the circuits, but not all of them, the ones that don't have damage would still be in service, and the customers that are connected to those circuits would be fortunate enough to have continued service.
Mm-hmm. And is there a certain point in terms of the wind speed that whether or not you have anything down that no longer becomes safe?
No, we don't do anything based on wind speed at all.
Okay.
I know a lot of people have asked me that question, including some staff.
Right.
And no, there's no wind speed that we turn things off. Like I said, it's all safety based. So if we get information that something is happening, that we need to turn things off, whether it's a call from an emergency services or something, that's when we would do a turn off, and it wouldn't be a sort of an island wide. It would be local to wherever that particular issue is.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna run until until we can't anymore. And hopefully we don't end up in a situation where we are actually completely off altogether.
Right.
In terms of restoration, I think what's really important is we can't send crews out to fix power outages during the storm. I know that might sound like an obvious statement to a lot of people, but we do get the question. It is really not safe to put staff up in the air in a bucket truck in high winds with potential lightning and rain happening at the same time. The first step for us, and I think you're showing it on the screen there, is after an all clear is issued, and I believe the utilities will get the first notice on that, us and the other ones. And we would send staff out to do damage assessments, and we would immediately start working on plans for restoration, finding where the low-hanging fruit are, focusing on emergency services, the hospital, the airport, the various public facilities that need to get on first. And we would just start restoring, and as soon as it is safe to do so. I know, having lived through a significant number of hurricanes here in Cayman, that our people really do like to see what has happened afterwards. And I would encourage people not to do that. Number one, it's not safe usually for them to do that. Number two, it does impede the work of restoration crews, whether that's CUC or other utilities or the government doing their works. So I do encourage people, after the storm has passed, that if they don't absolutely need to go out and run an errand, please don't. Because it really is just slowing down the process. If there's traffic impeding, typically the roads aren't very passable, and so putting more cars on the road really just slows things down.
Absolutely. All right, folks. So again, Sasha Tibbetts joining us from CUC. This is basically their process when it comes to restoring service. Really, really important for them to first get the all clear. And as Sasha said, encouraging you to stay off of the streets once the all clear is given, even because then that might be impeding them as utility workers and getting out there and trying to restore service as quickly as possible. So they're at plant located on North Sound Road. Obviously, they have to make sure that that is fully up and running before they can then transmit anything out to the lines and then subsequently to your homes and your businesses. So if people have any questions during the storm, is there any sort of number, Sasha, that they can be calling at this time? As soon as the storm comes a little bit closer, I suppose.
Our outage hotline, they need to report something specific. I suspect that if we have any significant impact, that there will be a flood of messages on there that we would obviously work through. If somebody has an emergency, call 911. That's and if it is a true emergency that's related to their electric power, 911 has a way of reaching us directly. But as you can imagine, if we have, say, 5,000 or 10,000 customers off at a particular time, it's very difficult for us to speak to people one-on-one. We have with the information in a bulk basis and address it. We will be doing things as much as possible, like updating our outage map on our website. So customers can refer to that for information. and that will have some information on how we would be doing restoration. Yeah, that one. And we'll also be keeping our social media lines up to date.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be information that comes out that way, and customers can get information that way. I'm sure this probably won't be the last time I come and speak on your show over the next few days.
Mm-hmm.
We'll pass information that way as well. And I guess I want to just circle back a little bit to things that people should do, changes topic slightly or should not, just for safety's sake. Some of these are obvious to many people, but maybe not to all. If you're using a generator, please don't run it indoors. It will
Mm-hmm.
your family with the carbon monoxide. Please don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you are outside and there's floodwaters, don't wade through the floodwaters. You don't know if there's an energized power line through there. It's not worth it. Stay inside. I mean, in all cases, stay inside,
Yes.
particularly during the storm. But do avoid anything that looks like a down power line. Do avoid, like I said, wading through the water, because the down power line that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing for everybody is that, we come out of the back end of this and we can perhaps have a chuckle about the things that happened and not have to talk about any real disasters.
Right. Okay, folks. So some good advice there from Sasha. Take heed. As Kevin said yesterday evening, that most of the time the injuries happen after the storm, when people start to go out and about and want to be adventurous and want to start snapping pictures and stuff to show their friends. That's the time to kind of stay indoors as much as you possibly can. So Sasha, we really appreciate it. We know that you guys are going to have some long days ahead of you because. Yeah, even as the storm is tracking a little bit away from us, we see that it's scheduled. We'll talk to Kevin here in a second. Kevin, are you ready to jump on? It looks like it's still going to be relatively close to us, which is kind of interesting in a way. But the development of the storm will, I think, intensify when it starts to move away from us a little bit. So we will take any of the small graces that we can possibly get. But Sasha, again, we appreciate you coming on, and any notifications that we get in relation to CUC or any of the other utility companies, we will definitely post them on our social media platforms. And as long as we're up with power and internet, we're going to be here, folks. And of course, right now is a good time to make sure that you've got all of your phones charged. If you've got backup power supplies that require charging, go ahead and pull those out and charge those as well. Have your flashlights full with new batteries. And, most of the weather is going to start in the early morning hours. So we'll have we're scheduling a regular show at 7:30 a.m. and we'll see how long we need to go from there. But we'll definitely be covering weather throughout the morning show as well. So make sure that you guys tune in for that. So Sasha, we really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, and everybody, please stay safe. And I hope to talk to you tomorrow.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot. All right, folks. So, yes, we invite any of the utilities, by the way. We haven't heard much from Flow. We know that they're still up and running. The outage map right now from CUC looks pretty good. It just says that 7 customers are having some sort of isolated things, and they look like they're just individual homes. It doesn't look like a cluster of anything. So I'm not sure what's going on with those particular individuals, but we will keep you all updated if we hear of anything that we need to be keeping an eye on. So yeah, everyone is hunkering down. Kevin, give us an update on where we are with this system.
Well, as of this afternoon, everyone would have known or experienced a few of the bands starting to initially start to come on over. You could actually see the center of the storm now on the Doppler radar on the Cayman Islands National Weather Service website. If you kind of look down to the bottom of it, you'll see that's the eye wall, the center, or what would be the center of the storm, that will be forming an eye wall very, very soon. It's not very, very clear yet. It's not a very organized system as of yet. But again, if you speak to any of the meteorologists, any of the forecasters out there and look at all of the models, this thing is set to rapidly start to intensify. Of course, it looks like most of that will occur as of right now after it passes Grand Cayman. But at the same time, there's still going to be moments of severe weather impacts for all of the Cayman Islands, but mainly on Grand Cayman. The sister islands still might experience some of the squally weather. You know, hurricanes, you look at them, they spin. And so as they spin, once in a while you have rain bands moving on over, and then you might have a period of nothing or not a whole lot of activity going on. And then afterwards, you'll find a little bit more again. And then as the system gets closer to the island, then we'll have more and more frequency of that occurring. So again, if you want to see the Doppler radar, I will tell you it's going to start loading a lot slower and you mightn't get onto it immediately. And that's really because there's so many people going on it. And when you have any website that's having overuse, it starts to crash. And I've experienced it a few times already, that the bandwidth is just not quite enough to really meet the demand at this time. So hopefully in the future they'll be able to see if they could increase some of that bandwidth. But at least once you get on, you could kind of see when those bands are coming in. I mean, on it you will be able to, and I'm not sure if it will let me, but you could zoom on into like the 30-mile range, and you'll see those bands. You have some heavy showers approaching the eastern districts at this present time. I mean, these are live. This is live footage right now. And so it will be approaching East End, and it's going to be making its way through the entire island on Grand Cayman at this time. If you go to the 150-mile look of things, you'll be able to see where Cayman Brac and Little Cayman is. And again, right at this time, they look like they're not experiencing rain presently. But again,
yes, and I can confirm that they're not, because someone in the Brac just said, not a drop of rain in the Brac.
Yeah. So. Earlier in the day, I know there was. They actually experienced the first little bit of a band that came and whooped around. And then when you and I were messaging a little earlier, Sandy, you were saying, yeah, we got some squally weather. And I said, yep, definitely. I saw that was over Cayman Brac when I looked. And then when I pulled it up, when you had told me that, I saw that same band was over Grand Cayman, which is what you were experiencing. And I saw a lot of pictures on social media, people showing some of the strong winds, the gusty winds, and the very heavy rainfall. And again, of course, once that moved offshore, it went away for a period of time. So absolutely, we're going to continue to get some of those things. Some of them might be a little longer in duration. Sometimes they might be short in duration. And you never know necessarily when they're going to occur. So that's why you want to, now at this point in time, stay indoors. Make sure that you're in a safe location. You should be, at the location where you're going to weather the entire event out, and wait until the all clear is given before you get out. And I will tell you, some of the times the government agencies do not necessarily give the all clear immediately once the weather event is more or less gone. And the reason for that is, and I'm going to just be very candid with you, the reason for that is at that time, that's when they're doing damage assessments and sending out the utility crews to start to make sure that the roads and everything else is safe. And so the moment people start to go on the roads, you are now causing it to take a lot longer for everything to resume back to normal. So I know that people are going to be extremely anxious and want to get out there and take pictures and see what's gone on, but you're going to cause it to take longer for everyone else to really get back to normal and have all of the utilities 100% restored, because you need to be able to have the utility vehicles, the damage assessment vehicles, and the public works department and everyone else who is involved in the response to clear everything out. So again, once the all clear is given, you can get out there and then resume your normal lives.
Yes. And let me just remind people, because this is something that came up a bit earlier today. If you have pets, you've got to start now thinking about your pets, folks. You need to bring your dogs inside and put them in the garage or in a safe area, because, you're going to have debris blowing around, even if it's, gusts of 35, 40 miles per hour. You don't want your dog out in that. Have a little heart. And if you have dogs outside now and you're like, oh gosh, I have absolutely nowhere to put this dog, this is the point for you to realize that you shouldn't have a dog. I mean, seriously. So many people have messaged us about their concerns. There's one picture that we posted earlier on social media. People are saying that there was a dog who was tied up and they don't even know who the dog is for, anything in Northside. And it's causing people a lot of anxiety when they're seeing animals like this, because they know that ultimately the animals are going to be hurt during the storm and potentially even killed. So really begging you to consider your pets, put them indoors, think of them. They are alive, I was going to say live human being, but you know what I mean? They are living
Well, live
beings.
creature, and I
I
mean,
know for us, pets are family around here. So,
mhm.
but even if you don't see your dog in that way, still think of it and think of the injury that a dog can go through and sustain if they don't have proper coverage during a storm like this. We really hope that you guys will seriously consider your pets during this time and put them inside.
Yeah, so we'll look at this graphic real quick as well too. And again, every single, like I mentioned yesterday, these things do shift back and forth. It did in the latest update shift a little bit again to the eastern or more of a northeastern tract as you get closer to Florida, especially where I am currently. It looks like it's pushing a little bit closer to me again, because at one point in time it was going away and some people were getting excited. Look, it's moving. Listen, again, we don't necessarily 100% know every single future move of this system. So you have to treat it like it's going to impact a lot more severe than it might impact. And ultimately, that's going to help you a whole lot. So at least at this present time on the current latest track, it looks like if we zoom on in, the closest point to the west of Cayman, it will be a Cat 1. Remember yesterday it was showing a Cat 2 at this time. Well, it's showing that it will be more of a Cat 1 as it's passing by Grand Cayman. That could change. And then on the next update, we don't know. So again, a hurricane warning is issued. Treat it like a Category 1 hurricane that will impact Grand Cayman. And it looks like just about 100 miles away from Georgetown and West Bay. That's where it looks like it will have the strongest winds. And then the eastern side of the island, of course, is going to be a little further away. Let me just take my measuring tool out here as well, too, and see what distance is from East End. So from East End, the closest point looks to be probably about 120 miles approximately away from where the forecast center is. But again, that's the center. Does not mean that that's where you're going to experience just hurricane force winds. We know that these systems have a stronger period of winds in the northeastern part of the system. So once that area is passing by our island, that is when we're going to probably have a lot more gusty winds. And even though it might not be sustained winds, you may have gusts of well over 100 miles per hour. It might be for 10 minutes or less, or we don't know how long it will last for, but it will still be significant enough to cause injury or damage to property. So again, you don't want to be out there in that mess at all. And again, for the sister islands, if I take it kind of in between Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, the closest point looks to be close to 200 miles away. So again, we want to make sure that we're getting this information out there so people don't drop their guard. We just want to make sure we're putting factual information out there. And in terms of the tropical storm force winds, yesterday again we looked in here yesterday and saw that the strong tropical storm winds, which would be in the yellow part of this graphic, that is now offshore. Doesn't mean the gust, like I just said, is not going to happen at some point in time, but the sustained winds is a lot lower. There was a moment earlier in the afternoon when, when some of the newer data came out that they dropped the tropical storm watch for the sister islands, and then they re-evaluated it. And then, of course, like the deputy governor said earlier on in the program, they then decided, out of the abundance of safety and caution, they decided to reinstate that because, again, we want people to be safe, and I think that was a very smart move. I was extremely shocked when I did see it initially, when I was like, why would they do that? But again, there are very, very educated and smart people there that said, no, we need to rethink this. And less than an hour later, they sent a revision out saying, no, we're going to keep this in place. So I'll stop right there. I know we do have Minister Turner in the back room, and I'll take an opportunity to jump on in.
All right, wonderful. Okay, Minister, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us again tonight. What are you seeing when you were out and about earlier in your respective constituency and Prospect?
What I'm seeing is that thank you again for having me on. You can tell I'm rough, but it's out there. Out there.
That's when you need this filter. You always look good no matter what.
Well, you can't hide the truth, but it is what it is. I'm actually out. Was driving through the constituency and observing, for those persons who took the heat and are actually hunkered down and sheltered. But there was some concerning things that I also observed. We saw where there were a number, and what is interesting, a number of homes, and especially those places that have tenants that doesn't have any sort of protection over their windows, and that was concerning for me. I also observed illegal dumping. Can you imagine? There was a vehicle that I observed throwing look like tree limbs and branches on an open lot. These things can become projectile, and that was very disheartening to me to see at this hour people are actually still out and about and doing stuff like that. So that was rather concerning. But for the most part, I did see some who've heeded the advice. Who have shutters have actually had them drawn. Those who have assistance with plywood, they were actually put in place. But there is still some serious concerns with a number of homes that have no sort of protection for their windows. And I'm a little concerned at that.
Yes, absolutely. And, when you were just talking about, especially renters not having any options, I mean, I've heard complaints from people who contacted their landlords or the management companies, and they were told, oh, yeah, you should leave literally yesterday. And they didn't have that in their lease. They had no advance notice or anything, and they weren't making any preparations to leave the premise. One lady said, she's got 2 kids, and she said, Sandy, I had no plans to leave. And quite frankly, she was going to write it out because she really thought that the management company for this particular complex could have given them more notice. I think these are the sorts of things that we're probably going to have to start looking at
the Renters
potentially,
Act,
legislating, because if there's nothing in legislation that's going to force people to do the right thing, then you can always assume that they're not going to necessarily do it.
Correct.
But yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And there's some people who also live on boats. I was a bit surprised to hear that there's some people in the marina down by Yacht Club on West Bay Road who were saying that they just live on their boat and they were planning and trying to ride out the storm on their boat, although the marina management was telling them that they needed to pull their boats into dry dock and to leave. And so, I mean, thankfully, this isn't going to be like a Cat 2, 3, or 4. But again, folks, if you're living in the Cayman Islands and your main residence is a boat, you better have a plan B, because we do live in the hurricane belt. And so at any time a hurricane can come up, and your plan can't be that you're going to ride out a major hurricane on a boat. That just makes zero sense. And if you need any reminders of what that can do to boats, just go look at the pictures from Hurricane Ivan. They will show you that every single boat on this island got tossed around and got twisted up. And, there was like a ship, like almost like a graveyard.
That ended up in the mangrove.
Yeah, of the boats just kind of all over the place. So I really want to, I'm going to pull up a picture here to just kind of remind people that I don't think this is going to be the situation this time. But, here's a stark reminder of what happens if you were living in one of these boats. I mean, heaven forbid. So don't ever think that you can ride out a major storm, a major hurricane in a boat. It makes zero sense. And you need to have your plan B. Just like you should have your hurricane kits kind of always ready and always prepped to go. These are the things that you need to consider. You should know more or less the area that you're living in. If you're new to the island and you don't know if it's like a flood prone area, assume that it is, because Cayman is very flat and very low lying. And so there are some areas that are worse than others. MP Sabrina Turner here can tell you Prospect is known for it's going to go underwater.
Oh, yes.
No matter where you live in Prospect. But as Sasha said, the thing that you don't want to do is, even after the all clear has been given, if the water hasn't subsided, please don't go out and start, swimming in the water and walking around in the water. Sometimes we've seen all sorts of like live fish get in the water, as well as down power lines that could still be live and could be in the water as well. So just stay away from those things, because, it's just extremely, extremely dangerous. And it was really
flooding as well. I want to say there's going to be the rainfall type of flooding from a rain event, but we also have to be very, very concerned with some storm surge type of flooding as well. So those, especially on the southern coast, as well as along the 7 Mile Beach and West Bay strip on the western side of the island, they need to be very, very cognizant of that. If they have a beach home or a home right on the water, storm surge could certainly be a big player, a big impact, and you might not want to be there, because you're not going to win against the rushing water that's going to be coming in from storm surge once it starts to come in. And when it comes in very quickly. So those really need to consider going more inland to either a friend's home or to a public shelter, somewhere away from their home, and there's not much you could really do. You could have a seawall, and that helps to a very to an extent, but it does not guarantee that you're going to have ultimate protection. We know that storm surge could definitely break right through that or go over that and cause a lot more damage. And as Minister Turner had said when she was on the show the other day, is that we also have to look at when the high tides are, because when storm surge comes in at a high tide, which on Monday at 9:38 in the morning, that's when your impact might be even greater. And that's not just the storm surge, that's also for the rain impacts in Prospect and those in Van Dyke Gardens, all those areas are popular for those very flood prone areas. Your water table is already going to be high. And then we're going to have additional water being dumped from a lot of torrential rainfall. So you're going to have a whole lot more extra flooding. And so you have to make sure you plan accordingly for that as well.
Correct. A lot of the constituents were reaching out because those who actually have drains close to their properties were saying that water was in there already. Contact is made with NRA, and we know that a lot of these drains were serviced ahead of the storm. However, as you rightly stated, based on the tides, water will actually be there, and it would appear as though they haven't been serviced or blown. So we have 4 vehicles that are spread across the island from West Bay, Georgetown. We got one Midway, Boddentown, and one for the Eastern districts, as we were informed by Minister Jay Ebanks and the NRA crew. And once it is safe, and like you rightfully say, our water table here in the Cayman Islands is so high, and worse if it's if we have high tide, it is impossible. We just have to wait till things subside. But another thing in regards to the renters, Sandra and Kevin, I got a call on Thursday that there was a young lady in a nice apartment, and that she was informed that she could not shelter in place. And that if she had tried to protect the windows, whatever damage caused by her trying to protect her own contents, that any repairs being done afterwards would come out of her deposit. Now, do you understand what that's doing? This is somebody who has a place to stay and now is almost homeless because they're not allowed to shelter in place. Wow. So these are things that definitely, as a government, we're looking into. We're going to definitely address as soon as we pass through this. But we are aware that this has been a cry of many tenants for years, and this is definitely something now that will be pushed up at the top of the agenda with what we're actually faced with right now with this impending weather.
Very good. Yeah, no, these are definitely some of the things that, again, you don't think about until you're right in the middle of it. But I just pulled up here some of the flood warnings that are going to be in effect. You got estimated rains today from 1 to 2 inches. Of course, tomorrow will be the most, from 2 to 4 inches. And then on Tuesday, again, more rain from 1 to 2 inches. Estimated wind direction. Again, this is beginning tonight. Starts to pick up a little bit coming out of the southeast, from 20 to 30 miles per hour. By Monday morning, it starts to go 40 miles per hour with higher gusts. And then by the afternoon, it'll start to subside a little bit. And the sister islands anticipating that they will be getting some gusty winds as well. So in case you don't remember, folks, the hurricane shelters are open as of today at 2 p.m. So you can go to any of these. Some are pet friendly. We've got the Sir John A. Cumber Primary School in West Bay, John Gray High School in town. That one's pet friendly. Boddentown Primary School, Clifton Hunter High School, which is also pet friendly, and the East End Civic Center. And the Cayman Islands Red Cross Shelter was supposed to open today at 4 o'clock as well. Yeah. So, you should already be at these shelters if you intended to go, because as of 8 p.m. tonight, they're saying that non-essential personnel should be off of the roads. And we do have this information that was coming in a little bit earlier today about the onset of tropical storm force winds, really starting early tomorrow morning. But again, tonight, you're going to get some, squalls and some gusty winds coming in. So just stay inside is your best bet. And this has been adjusted. So the closest point of approach, I think now, the last I heard, correct me if I'm wrong here, Kevin, but the last I heard, it was going to be about 85 miles or something off of Grand Cayman.
Yeah, we definitely could look on it on here. We'll just zoom on in and show that it looks like let me see if we could get my measuring tool from Georgetown. That is, it looks like it's just about 100 miles. Based on the latest data that came in on the 7 o'clock Cayman time, which is 8 o'clock my time here in Florida on Eastern Daylight Time, is when that closest approaches. But again, any little adjustments is going to be moved. That's just, an idea of where the center is. It does not mean that that's where the sustained winds are located. So again, you're still going to experience some tropical storm force winds. It's pretty certain that we're going to experience some tropical storm force winds in Grand Cayman. It does have a chance as well as some strong tropical force winds. Hurricane force winds is on the lower side unless it's wind gusts. But again, if the next update, which is going to be 11 o'clock my time, which is 10 o'clock Cayman time, if that comes in where it shifts a little bit more east, guess what? You're now in that zone where you could potentially some hurricane force winds, which is why, again, we still have that hurricane warning in effect, and we have to treat it like it's a Cat 1 hurricane.
Yeah,
Kevin, I'm glad you actually explained that, because I've noticed people have been watching the wobble. We spoke about this yesterday, and the cone that is actually presented. People tend to actually get a little bit more complacent if the Cayman Islands is not in the cone. I've tried to explain in a number of conversations today that the cone only represents the center of the system. It's what is fanning out that could cause some adverse damage. So don't use the cone as your tool to say, well, if I parked my car in a high and safe place, that, oh no, see, we're out of the cone now. Let me go and go back to my normal life because it's not going to come. Can you just explain the importance of knowing the center, which is the cone, and what can fan out ahead of where that center is, please?
Absolutely. So the center of the storm, if you were to look at it, and I didn't have this map pulled up and it will take me a little time to get it, but if you look at it and you were to measure the distance from one point to the next point of this storm, this hurricane, but that's going to be in the very near future, and measure the actual distance of it, that's where all of your severe weather impacts are. Now, when to get closer to the center where the eye wall would be forming at the center of the storm, that's where the strongest winds are. And I have to look and see the data based on the center of the storm, how far out the hurricane force winds are located. It's probably less than about 50 miles or so, I'm guessing at this time. I don't have the data in front of me, but somewhere in that region is where the hurricane force winds are. We are outside of that. Again, if we shift a little bit more east, we will be inside that. So we have to watch that carefully. But the tropical storm force winds now are even further out, maybe another 100 miles out. And again, that is what we have to really be paying close attention to, because that is ultimately what we will be feeling, the actual field impact in the islands. So again, it looks like the Sister Islands is far enough away, because remember, the Sister Islands aren't next door. They're a little good distance away. So they look to be more or less on the safer side, and they will have what you call just gusts. So they might have tropical storm force wind speeds for a short time, but it's not sustained. Sustained means it's for an extended period of time. Now, on Grand Cayman, now we are expected to have sustained tropical storm force winds, and then we have a chance of gusting up to Category 1 hurricanes. It does not look like we will have, again, sustained long duration periods of hurricane force winds, but we will have at least some gusts at that. If it does change and go a little bit more east, like some models do say is going to happen, then we are now in the zone for hurricane force winds, which is exactly what happened with the last storm when that was intensifying, and all of a sudden they said, "Oh, it's just a tropical storm, no." And then all of a sudden people are like, "This is no tropical storm. This is a hurricane." Well, it was an increasing storm, and you had a lot more periods of stronger wind gusts. So you had hurricane wind gusts, but it was still classified as a tropical storm. But so officially it was a tropical storm that impacted the Cayman Islands, or Grand Cayman specifically, not as much the Sister Islands, but it was really a tropical storm, a very strong one. And as soon as it moved away from Grand Cayman, it turned into the official Category 1 hurricane. Again, don't get caught up in the names. It's ridiculous to really get caught up in the names. Again, stay away from paying attention to the center of the storm. Look at the other indicators, and when you hear from the hazard management and the Cayman Islands National Weather Service and all of the government agencies saying this is what you really need to do, this is what our situation is.
Correct.
Follow that guidance. There's a lot of very educated people that know what they're
Yes.
talking about, and they're
Mhm.
Yes.
not make a decision just because they have the control to or the ability to just make whatever
Correct.
rules. They're making this based
Mhm.
on data and experience from what has happened previously, and ultimately their one goal is to protect our lives. The
Yes.
number two goal is to protect property. And then
Correct.
we will try to resume back to normalcy immediately or as soon as we can.
As
thereafter.
soon as, yes, correct.
Mhm.
Thanks.
And so we had someone asking earlier about the Cuban refugees, and I did check on that while we were live streaming, and I can confirm that they're all safe at the Town Civic Center. So they are safe and secure, so their loved ones can rest assured that they're going to be okay. Someone sent me this picture earlier today of cars parking on the roadway by the little bridge past the Kimpton, which I thought, why on earth? So this
Oh,
was the
wow.
text. I know this was the text that came with it. It said, "Hey, you, hope you're prepared and battened down. Cross this on the bridge just past Kimpton heading into West Bay. Cars lined up on the shoulder, both sides of the road. Police passed by at the same time as us and never slowed down or stopped. Not sure if it's legal to do this, but it's definitely a dangerous thing to allow if we do get a hurricane force winds and these cars are high to catch the gusts. They could be tossed around on the bridge
Exactly.
and block up the only access point in and out of West Bay."
So this
Mhm.
is something that I have mixed feelings on. I mean, I understand
Yeah.
the safety concern completely, but then if someone lives in a low-lying area and they are taking the guidance by making sure that they're trying to have their property in a safe area, where are they going to park their vehicles?
Well, I don't know if that location
I
is a
don't think a
place to
main
do it.
road
Though.
is the
That
right
location
place.
might not be a very wise one. I completely agree
I
with that.
mean,
But
you know,
again,
there's
we might need to start to think about where can vehicles go,
well,
where can
listen, this
people
is one of the
get
this is
guidance to
definitely
go.
one of the issues living on an island. But of course, you know, there are garages, some parking garages and stuff that did allow. I know during Ivan, some people have access to those. But you know what? A car can be replaced. You've got insurance. You're supposed to have insurance for it. So your vehicle can be replaced, but cost of life, if this, you know, runs into, if
Yeah.
one of these vehicles lifted runs into someone or something of that sort,
Mhm.
or even hampering people to get in and out of the district, can be a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
So I think the location here is the issue, not
It
necessarily
is.
that
Exactly.
No,
people
I
are.
agree with the location. I think people were just thinking that that might be a safer place than their home. But something that we might need to think about when hazard management does its after action report is maybe where can we consider having places for people to also shelter their cars, or if someone wants to do a business. I mean, there's a lot of entrepreneur like minded individuals out there, and if they have a large piece of land or a parking lot in an area that is not in a
Mhm.
flood prone area, they might want to consider. Because I know when I was back in my day at Cayman 27, 10 years ago now, our news vehicles, we did pay a fee to Cayman Bay, and we were allowed to park in their garage. I'm not sure if they still have that service or what, but I do know that we did have a fee that we paid at the beginning of the season, and then should we have a storm, we would be able to park our vehicles there and then go ahead and collect them shortly after the storm. Some of the vehicles that were not used to gather news and such. So I mean, there's different other businesses out there that may have parking garages or just large parking lots where it's not in a flood zone area or flood prone area, or not filled with a lot of wonderful trees around that will likely fall on top
Right.
vehicles that
Right.
they might be able to utilize for when we have these types of situations. But again, like you all rightly said, that's not a safe location for these vehicles to
Sure.
be seeking that sort of safety for their vehicles. But it's something that I could see why someone might think, okay, I need to take my car away from my home.
You know what's
Rightly
so funny?
said.
Someone just messaged about it, said, "Hey, Sandy, just a quick question. I noticed earlier today a lot of cars are parked on the bridge by Kimpton. Is it safe in the case of a Hurricane Ian?" And I'm like, we were just talking about that. Tune in. So yes, I don't think it's a safe location, despite their intent to maybe try to keep their vehicles safe.
Right.
So
And for the first responders tonight, we're all hunkered down. We're encouraged to get off of the roads from 8 o'clock. That's almost an hour ago, and I'm hoping that those facilities or fast food joints that were open, because I'm seeing it trending here on your page, that those staff were able to make it home and not be penalized in any way under the circumstance. And kudos go out to them. But as the Minister for Home Affairs, our first responders, our uniformed services, all of our healthcare workers, that they're out there Many of them have separated from their families based on what they're doing and their roles. Some may be allowed to have their families, but we have to think about our people as well, our uniform services that are having to respond, and it's constantly so dedicated in the work that they do to keep our roads and our lives safe. So I want to personally thank them for their dedication, for their service. And you have to recognize them. The fire guys, police, we got prison there that are definitely hunkering down and making sure everybody's there as safe as possible, and definitely the 911 staff. It is just a concerted effort. We got all of our radio sources, yourselves, that are just doing what we do best in making sure that we get the information out there, but also are able to respond in a safe manner. So we all have our part to play in times like these, but I have to personally shout out all of the uniform services for putting their lives there. They don't even think of it. It's just the adrenaline rush to make sure that they're able to respond in a safe manner when that time comes, or if that time comes.
Yep, absolutely.
So
in relation to the fast food places, I did receive some photos earlier of people at one of the local fast food restaurants. And the irony of that is I had someone message me and said, because they stopped posting social media, and they said, but this is the same person who's in line getting fast food themselves, complaining that the fast food workers are having to work. It's like, if you don't want them working, why are you out there? So, and of course, reminding us that not everyone might even have the option of having a place at home to be able to cook, which is something that perhaps we haven't thought about. But, folks, if you've got to go to BK and stock up on burgers or Popeyes for your chicken, get it well in advance. You should have done that yesterday. Just keep it at home.
I just want to bring up to everyone's attention, especially in the eastern districts. And again, this is why the Doppler radar is such an asset. Anytime you see these red things on our radar, that means extreme severe weather, or close to extreme severe weather. When it's purple, it's extreme, but when it's red, it means that severe weather is coming. And so we see some little spots within this area that's about to actually right over the eastern district.
Flaring up.
They are flaring up right at this present time as we're doing this broadcast. And so within that, we are on the side of the system where northeastern quadrant, where it's going to slowly pass by. We do have a small potential of some water spouts turning into tornadoes that do come on land, and that would cause some severe damage. Now, will it happen? Not necessarily, but there is that chance that does exist. And usually when you see that sort of thing, it's a larger area of red and purple, pink and purple. But at this time, it's looking like it's very, very severe weather in small sections that are now currently impacting some of the eastern districts. That looks like it will continue to move throughout all of Cayman. Looks like it might be actually over Bordentown where that last thing came, and then it's going to continue to move on offshore. Again, we're going to have more and more periods of this occurring. And again, if you have the ability, keep an eye on the radar when you could see some of the times when it might get a little bit more severe where you live.
Correct.
All right. Well, we're looking at a number of just different maps and stuff here for sure to see exactly what it is that we are in for. So super interesting, folks. Someone mentioned earlier that this particular system seems a little bit like it's the most disorganized storm that they've ever seen, in the sense that it hasn't really yet, developed. So it's definitely taking its time getting there. So
I'm hearing the rain pounding on my roof. The rain is pounding on the roof right now.
Yeah,
so
I'm hearing
Kevin, I think it's here.
Yeah, I'm hearing it starting to thunder and stuff outside as well. So, and make sure, folks, that you're aware of safety during the storm. The premier is going to be trying to join us here shortly, but he was running home to try to grab a shower because he's got to head back to headquarters at NEOC, and he could come on for a few minutes en route. But I was even saying to him, you're not supposed to really be showering during a lightning storm.
Sounds like my grandmother back.
Yeah, like,
don't
listen,
wash
that's
dishes.
no joke.
Come off the phone.
Yes, that's no joke with water and pipes being a conduit to pull electricity too.
Exactly.
So don't shower, don't do dishes, don't be hanging around the water, don't go out by the pool. So it is definitely unsafe, folks, to shower during a lightning storm, because if lightning strikes a power pipe or even the nearby ground, the electricity will actually travel through the plumbing, and this can
Correct.
cause electrocution. So yeah, some
Yeah.
safety tips there for you. So Katie O'Neill, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Lots of people on the live stream. She's reminding us that the Eye of Ivan was just 8 miles from South Sound. Gareth is here again tonight. Damien says it was 80 miles from East End and went down the south coast and then went west and then north. Vicky, good evening. She's hearing the thunder. We're hearing it as well. So she's reminiscing a little bit about 18 years ago. Hurricane Ivan. At this time, we were still without power in most places on the island, because I think it took about a month for even the first places to be restored. And West Bay just happened to be the first place that was restored, because I only remember that because my office was in Centennial Towers at the time. And as soon as we got internet back up, because we were very close to the substation and everything there, but as soon as we had power restored, I was working like 18-hour days because everybody needed the internet cafe to get in contact with family and friends overseas. And they would just come in there for hours and be, online all day. So, yep. Damien says, don't be cooking with gas inside. So some safety tips there as well. Don't bring the generator inside.
If you have a gas stove, that would be different. But if it's a gas grill, that's where you don't want to have that inside. No, that could contribute to carbon monoxide buildup.
Exactly.
Yes.
So thank God this is nothing like an Ivan. But despite that, we saw last year what tropical storm or thunderstorm Grace did.
Tropical storm Grace. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that we just need to be mindful that it doesn't have to be a hurricane to cause significant damage. And someone actually sent me a photo already from tonight where some of the leaves are already down. And I was like, what?
We were getting earlier reports from some. Oh, no, that's actually the illegal dumping that
this is the dumping one. Oh, I thought this was the wind already blowing. So, oh my goodness, really? This is what people were dumping? Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But this was some of the weather in South Sound earlier today, as some of the rain was starting to roll in already. One of our viewers, Craig Marion, sent these pictures in to us. So yeah, we just want to always be really, really mindful. And we couldn't have an episode of anything here in CMR without having a little LOL moment. So let me show you guys these, because these are they take the cake. So this is a house in West Bay, we're told. Folks, the plywood goes on the outside of the house, not on the inside. The whole reason for the plywood is to actually protect the window from breaking. So
it might be one of those tenants that had a landlord that didn't want them to damage the building, so
they damaged it from the inside. Oh my gosh!
Foolishness, but
no. And then look at this one. Yeah, that's not gonna help. Well, I mean, I was trying to figure this one out. Is it the case that the windshield is damaged? Is that what this is?
I don't know.
That's actually the back glass, looks like. The back of the car.
Sorry, the back glass. Is it that it's damaged and they're trying to prevent it from getting blown out, or are they just trying to protect it from something? Because that little rock and piece of cardboard is not going to do much. So I don't know whose vehicle that is, but we take our hat off to you for trying something. That might not quite be it though. And then look at this one. I had to really wonder if this was Cayman, but when I saw the license plate, I'm like, yep, that's Cayman, all right. So they have put plywood and somehow secured the vehicle with, I don't know what else that is on top of the windshield, but something else. And then a mattress
or something.
It looks like something, right? And then a mattress as well. I'm like, what do they think is gonna happen to the car? Like they actually think this one's gonna get picked up and blown away. Like
I think they're trying to protect the windows from getting debris from breaking the glass. I mean, hey,
okay.
that one might be a little bit. I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
Try to protect your car. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh, that one just had me cracking up. So yeah, that's a little bit. It's a little bit weird.
We do have another squall line, just to let everyone know as well too, that is right behind the one that just passed by, that is now approaching the eastern districts. If you look on the radar on the right hand side over to the east, you'll see that one is making its way on over as well too. That's coming into frame, so you're going to again experience another squall. This is going to start to happen more and more frequently as time goes on, as the system gets closer. So this is quite normal, quite typical. It is a disorganized system still, but it is certainly looking more impressive as time goes on. It is looking to be rapidly intensifying over the next 24 to 48 hours. So when it's passing Cayman, looks like it'll be a tropical storm into a Cat 1 hurricane, most likely forming into a Cat 1 hurricane after it passes Grand Cayman. But again, that's not guaranteed. We'll see in the next hour. Another update from the National Weather Service, or the National Hurricane Center, that is, to see exactly what's going to happen. It's going to form into that hurricane status very soon thereafter. And what that means is that the wind field will likely expand, where the hurricane force winds will likely be a little further out, and the tropical force wind impact will be again a little further out as well too, which will again cause a greater impact for the Cayman Islands. So we need to again prepare for a Cat 1 hurricane, like I kept on saying earlier on, and just be prepared, hunker down inside your homes, do not go outside. One of the things I do want to mention too, do not open one window if your lights go out, and don't open just a window in your home because you want to catch a breeze, or be nosy and look on outside. Reason for that, pressure will build up in your house and your roof will go goodbye. So you want to make sure that you keep everything secure. If for whatever reason, this and that your window gets breached, it gets broken for whatever reason, whether debris hit it and it got broken and you now have air coming into your home, you need to go to the opposite side, not the same side, but the opposite side, and open that window so you can get that pressure out. If you don't, roof is going to go goodbye. So those are some things that you need to be aware of should it happen. The likelihood in this event that it will happen is probably on the lower side, but at the same time, if it does, you need to know what to do.
I think the 10 o'clock update will be very interesting, Kevin, and moving into the wee hours of the morning. Understand, I think they do it at 2 a.m. and then, of course, 6.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, so 10 o'clock will be definitely a one that we should all be paying close attention to, because that will determine what the wee hours of the morning could actually look like.
Correct. That's absolutely right. That's going to be a very important for Grand Cayman to be paying close attention to see what happened over the period where the last update occurred.
Let's just get a little sorry, Kevin, let's just listen to this and get a real-time update here from the folks at the
and this is
the Weather Channel.
The total amount of moisture in the atmosphere.
So this is the Weather Channel,
rightly, we're focused on where the core of the storm is going to be, but you've got this huge area of deep tropical moisture that's going to roll up and across much of the state, starting tomorrow and then going into Tuesday and Wednesday and even into Thursday. So a prolonged period of very heavy rain is on the way. Now, let's compare some of the models. The model, the European model, bringing the storm more directly into Florida. I want you to notice here some of these totals and where that's hitting.
So, of course, people in Florida, folks, are already starting to prepare for this storm. They're not taking this storm as anything that should be taken lightly. They've been monitoring it very, very closely since yesterday, for sure. And they know it's going to make landfall somewhere in Florida, not precise yet. So it could be anywhere from probably Naples, even all the way up to Tallahassee. But people in Tampa in particular, Fort Myers, Naples, and of course, Tallahassee are all preparing. You saw them earlier getting their sandbags together. Some are not going to stay if they're close to the water. They're evacuating. They're stocking up on water and all the other supplies that they need. So I think that, I don't know if it's because we've been through so many really catastrophic storms now that people seem to really be taking them a bit more seriously. Because there was a time even here, we're like, just like with Ivan, that's going to turn at the last minute. We're not going to worry about it. I think that now we are a little bit more aware of how being nonchalant, they say ignorance is bliss, but it's not a good thing when it comes to storms. So, it's better to be over-prepared.
Over the last decade, we have had a lot of very significant, life-changing type of cyclones, type of storms. And it's been widespread from Florida to all of the other areas in the Gulf and even up in the Carolinas. We've all had our share of very bad storms And so people are a little bit, at least the folks in this lifetime and the generation before, they all had some sort of experience with one now, knowing the seriousness that could come about one of these type of things. And so I believe a lot more people are paying a lot more closer attention to these things, which is great that people are taking that action. I know for the past few days, because I'm here in Tampa area, and so a lot of people have been starting to get their gas and starting to get their supplies and stuff together. And so now you see a lot more limitations at the grocery stores, where you're only allowed to get one case of water and that sort of stuff going on at this present time. But again, even from earlier on, a lot of people already got that all taken care of. Some of those few last minute people now are learning their lesson. Don't wait till last minute, because when you wait till last minute, you're going to get the things you probably don't want. You're going to end up with paying $5 for a bottle of Fiji water, because that's all that's left.
Right.
All right. We have a question coming in on WhatsApp. They said, "Hey, Sandy, have you heard that police are evacuating places like South Shore in Prospect? My friend is in the U.S. and has her sister looking after a place there and animals. Is it just a rumor? The police are asking residents to leave." Do you know anything about this, Sabrina? I haven't heard this one.
Haven't been updated of anything as yet. I would have to double check my other line of communication, but nothing directly has been given to me as yet. I'll look into it. It is in Prospect, so of course.
Yep. Okay. All right. Let me just let them know that we'll look into it. Okay. So no confirmation on that one. Miss Rita. I
haven't gotten anything as yet.
Yeah. Miss Rita says, "Sabrina, I just want to tell you that I'm very proud of you and how you treat your constituents." Thank you, Miss Rita. Geography's Bliss also says, Damien. Gareth says the Southwest USA has quite a bit of experience with hurricanes. So yes, definitely some thunder in the background. What about Red Bay? What about it? We'll get some water because the amount of ants on the move and no birds was in the sky today. Something will happen. Well, you only needed to look at the satellites and know that something was going to happen.
I will say that person does have a point, though, when it comes to animals.
Yeah, no,
animals know when bad weather's coming, and they act very different.
Yeah, for sure.
I see my two dogs. They're huddled in bed with my son right now, and it's amazing. Bella, she was actually acting weird all day today, and I'm looking at their behaviors and everything. And we got to hold them with the thunder, and when the winds pick up a little later, this is something that once we're sheltering in place at home, that if you have those pets, they're going to need a little bit more snuggling as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and some animals get very, very agitated and even petrified during storms. So you've got to be prepared for that as well, because that can definitely be a bit of a challenging
their little
situation.
Heart, you can feel their little heart and they're trembling.
Yeah. So just trying to see if we have any other announcements. So of course, Cayman Airways did announce earlier today that they were securing a number of their planes. I know one plane was going to be sheltering in New York. Let me just see if I can pull this up by way of Cayman Airways. Hold on one quick second.
Kevin, you see where some of those showers are actually extending over to our sister islands. Again, even though we are somewhat being a little relaxed, we have to pay special attention to this, because as you rightly say, with the rapid intensification that is projected or predicted, any variance in shift could change everything, and what is actually they're expected to feel. But with the rains and the winds, we just don't want to downplay this by any means to our brothers and sisters and family members over there in the BRAC.
Right, that's called, a lot of forecasters say, the windshield wiper effect is what happens.
Yes.
1 second they're on this side, and then by the next update, the center moves to the next side, and then it's kind of flip-flopping back and forth.
Yeah.
And, it's very, very typical of some of these type of systems that are special, not yet really well-defined. It's not really a very significant type of system where it looks like it has everything going for it and strengthening. It just looks perfect. You look at the satellite picture and it looks, oh my goodness, that's a hurricane. This one is a little messy. But yeah, that windshield wiper effect could easily move a little bit, a few miles to the east. That will put the sister islands back in more of a danger zone, put Cayman more in a danger zone, and the sister islands in a danger zone. And
Exactly.
so we have to pay very close attention to what's going on. And I'm
Mhm.
very, very happy. And I mean, I was so shocked again when I saw that, you know, the hurricane, this tropical storm watch was lifted. I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden, within the next hour after there was some communication back and forth with the government communicators, saying that they were in a meeting, standby, and then shortly after, again, it was less than an hour later, they said that it was issued. I'm like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. And I'm glad that that decision was made. It might not just be because, you know, we're sure they're going to experience tropical storm force winds, but the fact that there is a chance, we need to overly prepare and let it be nothing, hopefully nothing, then not have any warnings whatsoever. And then all of a sudden they said, well, why didn't you do it? Well, you know, you don't want that type of argument at all.
Right. So just from Cayman Airways, earlier today, the reservations call center and ticket offices in all 3 islands closed today at 2 p.m. To allow staff to return home so they could finalize their preparation. All passengers who've been affected by cancellations or other operational changes due to the approaching storm, you know, had been notified using the contact details provided at the time of booking. And of course, agents were assisting them in terms of rebooking. Now, speaking of travel, American Airline had some sort of mechanical issue with the last flight that was trying to get out of here today, because we actually had a friend that was supposed to be leaving and they were unable to leave. So some of them from that flight have been put up at the Ritz and others are put up, I think, at was it the Ritz and Marriott maybe? But they're put up at 2 different locations. So they're going to have to just stay put for now. So right, Cayman Airways fleet, one is in New York at JFK. And then we've got one overnighting in Miami. One is going to overnight in Tampa. And then another one is going to be ferried to Cayman Brac. So again, that's to try to keep the fleet as safe as possible. The active Cayman Airways Express fleet located to the Charles Kirkconnell International Airport in Cayman Brac today, along with one of the jets, as noted above. So we will keep 2 planes at least relatively close by. And then from there, Tampa, Miami, New York. And I'm sure as soon as we get the all clear, especially the one in Tampa, and perhaps even Miami, will be coming back home as quickly as possible to try to avoid, you know, that situation.
One thing I will let you know, Cayman Airways, this is not their first rodeo by any means.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I will tell you, Cayman Airways is #1 in the world. And I don't care who wants to try to argue this point. Cayman Airways is #1 in the world when it comes to trying
safety.
For safety, for trying to help the island with evacuations. I remember when I was growing up, there was an argument. People, oh, you need to privatize Cayman Airways. It's bleeding money. But the government said, no, this is a true asset to the Cayman Islands that when we need all the other carriers out there, they'll be like, oh, to heck with you. We're not going to bother with you. Cayman Airways will make sure that they're going to fly until it's no longer safe to fly. And then, of course, they need to protect their property.
Correct.
There's a lot of money invested in these aircrafts. And then as soon as it's safe to do so, they're going to clear those runways and they're going to be right back to assist with whatever relief might need to happen for the islands.
Yeah. And I do see someone sending us image of the radar with a little smirky face saying, really? This thing again? No satellite image available? Folks, we know they've been struggling with that for a minute. And hopefully it'll be sorted on a permanent basis.
The thing is, right now, there are a lot of people that are logging on. And so that's going to start breaking the website. And this is not a Cayman issue alone. I will tell you, the National Hurricane Center's website, big old national US website, has the same issue. Hurricane Dorian was one of the big ones that when I was working in the Emergency Operations Center in Florida, that there was no availability of it because Dorian, the entire state of Florida was inside a cone, and this was a Category 5 heading and predicted to come through all of Florida. It's the one that sat over the Bahamas for a couple of days and stayed stationary, which is devastating for them. It ended up not hitting Florida. it ended up going up the East Coast. But for a few days, it was predicted to hit and impact the state of Florida, all of it. And so we had not just a few counties impacted, we had the whole entire state, not necessarily just the state, but the other people around who had an interest in Florida logging on, and there was just not enough bandwidth to be able to keep up that demand. So I'm going to say that Cayman is going to have a very high amount of interest, just as much. A lot of people know that this radar product is available, and I have it up right now. So I do know that is certainly, intermittently working. I know I have to refresh a number of times in order to get it, but this is the live view as of right now. Again, the center, you can see the center of it, which will eventually form into the eye wall straight to the south. This is the 250 mile range on the radar. Again, if you want to zoom in and get a little closer look of both the Grand Cayman, Cayman and Little Cayman, you click the 150 mile range, and that brings it in just a little closer so you can see what's going on over in the sister island. And then again, if you want to see just Grand Cayman, which is where the radar is located out in East End, you will see right now over, it looks like, let's see where it stops. It looks like right over Newlands area or so is where we have some of the heaviest showers. Sabrina, you're over in Prospect, I believe. So you're probably,
we're hearing it loud.
You're going to
so
be
I've also gotten confirmation for that individual. Another person has said, Sandy, my friend in South Shores, confirmed that it's true that they were sent a memo. So I don't know if it's necessarily a memo from the police or just a memo from probably their management of the condo. But we do have the Premier who's waiting to join us as well. So we'll go ahead and bring in Premier Panton. Good evening, Premier Panton. How are you?
Good. A little bit tired, but doing well, and I hope everybody else is. Hello, Sabrina. Good to see you.
Well, I was just telling everybody your business, as CMR sometimes does. I was saying that the Premier went to take a shower, so hopefully no issues with lightning.
Maybe he beat me while I'm looking like that.
We see that he made it safely on, folks. So not a problem.
I learned a couple of new dance moves tonight because my two dogs that whenever there's lightning, they can hear it from miles away.
Oh my!
Thunder, I should say. They see the lightning, they know it's going to be followed by thunder. So they were in front of the shower, lying down, drooling all over the place. Of course, I can't see it. Shower, dry off on the mat. I go to take one step, and I'm doing all kind of boogie moves, trying to stay upright.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my Lord! Had to go back in the shower to wash my feet off again.
Oh my goodness!
So now, Katie, where in the world would you have the Premier telling us all of this details of his adventures, just trying to get on CMR?
Listen, we're all family here. We're all family here, so we understand the struggle. And you know what? At least the dogs are on the inside. So thank you for that, because we're trying to encourage everyone.
We all have our stories, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to encourage everyone to please take your dogs inside. Follow the Premier's lead. So Katie says, "Thank you, Premier, for helping out West Bay today." So Premier, you were actually in West Bay?
Wasn't today, I think it was yesterday.
Okay.
He was all over the place.
I was in Prospect.
Yes. Thank you.
Boddentown, and East End today.
Wow. Yeah, all right. So what's it looking like out there?
Covered a lot of ground. I think, I've been driving around a bit, and we haven't had a lot of heavy rain, so we tend to have rain, and there's a little bit of water settling on the roads, but then there's enough in between the rain squalls that it tends to dry up or drain away. So it hasn't been a problem as far as I can see so far. But of course, we expect more rain as we go through the night and into tomorrow. And I think, as you can see from the image, and I totally agree with your analysis on why we're having that problem with radar. It's just because there's so many people that are logging on and trying to use it. Tomorrow morning is going to be worse, I'm sure, because people will be trying to see whether there's rain coming, and that'll help them make up their minds about what their plans are for the morning. Are they going to go outside and try to do this or that? So that's going to continue to be a problem. It's just a function of probably too many people trying to log on at the same time. But just stick with it, and you'll be able to get the images, because I've been watching it on and off. I try not to stay on too long because I know other people need to have access. And yep, you nailed it. It was raining over Newlands just as you were saying that. And
Yeah.
I'm hearing the thunder in the background here now.
is whipping along pretty good, and you can see where the intense parts are over East End right now.
Yeah.
So heavy rain there, and probably quite a bit of thunder and lightning in that area as well.
Yep. Yeah, we're definitely hearing it here in the Lower Valley area. So in terms of your constituency, do you feel like people are relatively prepared?
I think so. I mean, I think most people, took it very seriously, as they should, and I think people were relatively well prepared. I do think that we have to find ways to incentivize people putting more shutters on their houses, so that we have less of the issues around them having to look for board or plyboard. Either that or we encourage them to use cut plyboard and use the latches to latch it inside the window well.
The barrel bolts.
Right, rather than just screwing it on the outside. So it's really just about additional resiliency and being prepared. I'd like to see more of that, rather than just have open windows. Of course, some people have fairly strong modern hurricane resistant or hurricane proof almost windows, so they tend not to bother about covering those up. It is a risk. You can get a strike from something and damage the window, but those windows are very strong, and typically they won't allow any. You might break the outside of the window, but it's not going to affect the integrity of the window overall.
Right.
But yeah, I think people have been pretty good about it. I've been very impressed by their approach, and I think I'm really proud of my colleagues and the way we have responded on this. People have been out in their constituencies working with the particularly those that we know are more vulnerable, that they're taking care of. There's been an extensive amount of work done over the last probably 2.5 days now, to try to make sure that people were well prepared. I suppose there's always going to be some that just don't prepare enough, but I think by and large people are fairly well prepared. And
now, a little birdie told me that you've been delivering plywood and supplies from the east to the west, like Santa Claus in September.
Plywood, corned beef, water, some rice, sandbags, different things. We've been, we work together, and that's the name of the game, to ensure that we all work together to make sure that all of our people, and we have, the government has worked with the opposition as well. We have provided them with similar amounts of supplies that we've had ourselves, unless we have sort of bought separate supplies. So that is designed to ensure that all Caymanians, not just those that we represent in our own particular constituencies, but those that are represented by opposition members as well.
Can I just pause you there for one quick second? I'm just going to turn up the volume.
Sure.
And I did mute that video because it was echoing once you started it and the premier was talking. So let me end it.
Okay.
And especially in terms of its strength as it's starting to bring into an area that's much more favorable for some development. Let me show you what's going on right now with the alerts. We still have Grand Cayman, also the western sides of Cuba in that hurricane warning, likely being affected pretty much now for Grand Cayman into tomorrow, and then Cuba, that's going to be on Monday as well. And then as we head into late Monday into Tuesday and then Wednesday, that's when we'll see the greatest impact here to the Keys, anywhere west of the 7 Mile Bridge down through Big Pine, Key West. Tropical storm watch in place right now. So here's a look at the storm, Tropical Storm Ian, and where the hurricane hunters are right now. We have a flight that just took off from Lakeland, Florida, making its way to the storm here. You can see the previous paths. Of course, we've had so many flights in, sometimes multiple flights in the storm at the same time, trying to collect as much data as possible to help with the forecast here of Tropical Storm Ian. So those flights are now returning. We have the next one coming out, and then we'll be seeing another NOAA aircraft going out at about 1:30 in the morning. So again, multiple flights here to really try to hone in on this forecast and really see the intensity and the structure of Ian as it's starting to potentially rapidly intensify, especially in the next 24 hours. Here's the latest forecast track here. There it is right now. By Monday, we're have it in the forecast as a hurricane, and then look at this just 24 hours later on Tuesday, looking at it to bring in major hurricane status, 120-mile-per-hour winds, then continuing up, unfortunately impacting much of the western coast there of Florida. Again, an area that is very prone to storm surge and a very large area. Of course, with a major hurricane like this, it's going to be taking a lot of real estate. So many areas impacted well outside of this cone and this track that you see on your screen. So much in the way of preparation that really needs to be starting right now, in place tonight and especially into tomorrow. And Carl, there's, some of the models waffling back and forth with where this may go. I know yesterday was looking a little more westward, but now the GFS coming into agreement with the Euro, which has been pretty steadfast with this track more to the east.
Yeah, it certainly does raise the stakes for the west coast of Florida. There's that. And there's also the fact that, we had some solutions before indicating that the storm might be picked up by this area of low pressure, this large area of low pressure along the East Coast, and kind of rapidly taken up into Florida and then to the north. Well, now it appears more likely that that system is going to pull on the storm for a while, but then it's going to leave it behind. So there's a point at which where it's either along the coast, maybe just offshore, or maybe just onshore, and it basically stops moving from late Wednesday into late Thursday. And in a situation like that, you amplify everything. You get so much more rain. You have, just wave after wave of, high tide and surge. You're talking about, really spectacular impacts because the storm would not be moving. It's hard pressed to think of another case like that if the storm is indeed a major hurricane that is sitting either just offshore or right along the coast. So I do think this has potential to be something altogether different as compared to what we have seen along the West Coast in recent years and even decades. Now, you look at the satellite presentation right now. It is taking off tonight. It is on its way. You see, it's got a much more cohesive center as compared to 12 hours ago. Persistent convection about that center. Would not be at all surprised to see a very different storm by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. It's expected to ramp up quickly. We're likely going to see a period of rapid intensification, but then you do see that it comes down either due to land interaction or an increase in shear or both. So if it moves in more quickly, it's going to be coming in as a stronger storm. And that's important when you look at these model tracks here. The GFS model tracks have been farther to the east relative to yesterday. So they shifted west one day, and now they're shifting back to the east, more in line with the European. There's still some members that are into the northern Gulf Coast, but more of them have moved farther east and towards the west coast of Florida. But again, if it's more towards the east here, it's going to likely be a stronger storm coming in, whereas if it's more toward down the center of this, then it will have some opportunity to weaken before it moves into northwest Florida. We'll have much more coming up.
More truck owners.
All right, folks. So there we have it. Rapid intensification, even into tomorrow morning, which means for us, when it's probably going to be at its closest point earlier in the morning, we're going to feel some gusty winds there, Kevin.
Yes, absolutely. I will say that I'm looking at the data that's now being collected from the hurricane hunters. So we'll be getting that update probably, I would say, right at the top of the hour. They're submitting some of the data, and this definitely looks like it's getting more and more organized, just like predicted. I'm just looking at some of that data now, and it's definitely, if you look at that satellite picture that they were showing as well too, you could see it looks more like you said. There's a lot of this, not really your typical picture of a hurricane. And then as time went on, as it was looping around, you saw it looking a little bit more familiar like a hurricane. That just shows that it is certainly increasing in that organization, which means it's likely strengthening as well. So we do, we're gonna keep our eyes very closely on it. We'll Minister Turner had just mentioned, it's going to be very, very important to take a look at that next update, the 10 o'clock update came in, which is the 11 o'clock update for me here in Florida, to see, what that data is saying. But I do see that that it's looking like it's certainly organizing a lot better.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because that sort of time lapse satellite that they showed, like how it progressed throughout the afternoon, as you rightfully said, demonstrates how I think the premier was saying this is the most unusual storm he's seen in a while. It looks a bit chaotic, like it just can't get itself together, but it looks like it's going to do it very, very quickly. And you can already see the early remnants of exactly how fast that's going to happen just over the course of today. Started to look a little bit better into tonight for sure.
Yep.
So,
as you said, that's exactly what was projected.
Yes.
So we are.
And look at the cloud coverage in this whole area.
Earlier today, the 11 o'clock update today showed a very ragged looking tropical storm, and it was all, the center was displaced from a lot of the convective activity and stuff. But now with the convection starting to build around the what will likely be the center and eventually an eye, it's definitely gathering steam. So I wouldn't at all be surprised that when we wake up tomorrow morning, it could be a very different looking storm than it looked at midday today.
Yep. And I want to mention, I'm going to go ahead and pull this into the stream here, Sandy, and show some of the data I was looking at just a moment ago. And you see this is an actual flight going on with that Hurricane Hunter. And you see these little numbers that are inside there. These numbers are your pressures right now. And so just to put that into perspective, we've talked about it before when we've had other weather experts on, but they're moving away from the Stafford system wind scale because they found there's too many issues with it. But one of the things that they're looking at a little bit more is looking at more of the millibars, the pressure of these systems to determine a little bit more of the impacts. So right now, if you look at the current data that's coming in from the hurricane hunters that are currently inside the middle of this system, you're seeing numbers like 992, 997, and that area. And so if you look at the range, kind of what that means, that does indicate category 1 strength. So I predict, again, I am not saying that this is something that's actually happened, but I predict that by the next update, this might be a category 1 hurricane by the next update. The data's not complete yet.
We do have Edlin Stoll, who's joining us from the Water Authority. So we had CUC on a little bit earlier. Kevin, I'm just going to pull your graphic out a little bit. So good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good. Thank you so much. I hope everyone's doing well.
Yeah, we're just trying to get as many updates, especially from the utility companies, as we possibly can. So can you update our viewers on what they can expect when it comes to, the water staying on and how long it's estimated to stay on for, and what are some of the things that you guys will be monitoring?
Yeah, so our team has been preparing for this for quite a few days now. As soon as we saw that this was really a potential storm that could really impact us, we've been activating our hurricane plan. And so we've been kind of moving forward and getting everything prepared. In terms of turning off the water, we know that that's a thing that's a big concern for everyone. Based on the current path and the predicted path, we do not have any plans at this time to turn off the water. Of course, storms are unpredictable. If the path changes in any way, shape, or form, and we think that the system might be compromised in some way, that would be when we would have to make that decision about turning it off, in which case we would do our best to get as much notice out there to our customers as soon as we can. But at this point, there are no plans to turn off the water.
All right, folks. So good stuff. Again, this is not projected to be a major hurricane as it passes us. It's starting to intensify and kind of go in that direction. So that's good news for the Water Authority and good news for all of us. So
yes,
we appreciate Edlin the update, and of course, you guys are scheduled to be closed on Monday, just like probably every other business.
That's correct. Yeah, that's right. We want to make sure that our staff is safe and secure, so everybody is going to be in their proper place taking shelter. And of course, once the all clear comes through, that's when we're going to go out, do our assessments. So if we do have any issues, there might be some localized issues for some folks. We'll get out there and do the restoration work if needed. But yeah, for now, everyone's going to be hunkered down, safe and sound until we get that all clear.
All right. Sounds wonderful. Again, thank you so much for popping on. If anything changes, please do let us know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Please do follow our social media pages and our website. We will certainly be making updates. Anything that customers need to know, need to be aware of. If you have any concerns, because we do know people were kind of spreading things around as well, too. So if you heard something that sounds odd, check our page first, go to the verifiable sources and get the official updates there.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you and be safe.
Thank you. You as
Thank
well.
you very much.
All righty. So again, folks, we've
Thank
heard
you.
from the Water Authority. We've heard from CUC. Haven't heard from any of the telecoms, like the phones, but I think, once CUC can keep up, then we'll be okay with those.
Yeah,
But,
that's right. Once the power
we
is
should
on,
be
they
okay.
they should be fine.
So Angie says it's getting some hard rain there in Prospect. Sonia says it's not an issue if it's raining. Well, yeah, because there's going to be wind and other stuff. You probably don't want to go outside in that rain. So we still like to have water inside. Sonia, Vincent joining us from Jamaica, sending us some love. Here to see the Cayman Islands. So we appreciate that, Vincent. So folks, again, you've been watching the CMR Storm Watch 2022. First storm of the season. I was kind of beginning to wonder, Kevin, if we were ever going to have to activate or hurricane alert here.
Yeah, no, so remember, the beginning of any hurricane season tends to start off a lot slower. It tends to be kind of slow.
Super slow.
And I kind of hate when that happens because people do end up dropping the guard. You right in the beginning of the hurricane season, you have hazard management and all the other agencies coming out. Oh, be prepared, and then everyone gets excited about it, and then all of a sudden nothing happens for the next couple of weeks or a few weeks into the next couple of months. You might have one pop up somewhere, but usually that time of year it's not in our region. But really and truly, the peak of the season is right where we are. It's going to be from around September 10th. And then we're going to have, this is kind of the tail end of the first peak. And then you're going to start, usually again, based on historical data, going to see it decline a little bit. And then later in October, there's going to be kind of another peak when you tend to have a lot more name systems happening. And then it's going to start going down again before the end of the season. Not saying you can't have anything outside of that range. It certainly happens from time to time. But at the same time, usually middle of September and then beginning of October, you have another peak and then it goes away. So, I mean, these are quite typical. They still have, quite a bit of name systems that are still predicted. If you look at the data, they're still saying that this is going to be a pretty active season. And so, this is one good test to see what happens. And again, it doesn't mean that that's it and over for the hurricane season. So, our level of preparedness must continue even after this whole entire system. We cannot drop our guards. We can't lower our guard. We also have to ensure that whatever supplies and things that we use from this one, we have to replenish. Because we have to stay prepared.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, if you don't have to dip into the hurricane supplies, don't just leave them. They'll last for years, really.
They sure do.
Yeah.
You can see this system I pull up another satellite picture, and again, you could see it's looking more like what you would typically see on those pretty pictures of what a hurricane looks like. It is showing every sign, whether it's satellite, whether it's the millibar data that I showed you from the hurricane hunters that's sending in that data now that they're in. And, the conditions, everything is lining up for this thing to continue to strengthen. And so when will it get that name? Will it be this next update in the next 15 minutes? We don't yet know. We will find out in 15 minutes. But again, if it's not this update, we'll see what the next update is at 2 o'clock in the morning, which actually will be 1 o'clock Cayman time. And then again at 5 o'clock in the morning, which I think is 4 o'clock Cayman time. So again, we have a few more updates before when the worst part of what will likely happen in the Cayman Islands. We still have some time to see what happens, but this update is going to be very interesting, in particular to know what's going on.
And folks, we'll be live at 7:30 in the morning. So we're going to have a regular scheduled show tomorrow, keep you guys entertained. The topic for tomorrow, in addition to obviously monitoring the storm with Kevin, is we're going to be talking about Jamaican entertainers in Cayman. Some very, very interesting ones have either been coming lately, up to this weekend, planning on coming, aka Spice, or may have been stopped from coming. Remember the Jamaican pedophile story? He's going to be joining us on the show to tell us his side of what's going on. That should be super interesting. So make sure you tune in at 7:30 to be entertained right through the storm. And fear not, CMR's got a generator now, so we should be good. So Angie, Tashika, Damien, Gareth, Miss Sue, Jessica, thank you all so much for tuning in. Still over 300, almost 400 people still here with on the live stream with us. And folks, we're going to rev it up tomorrow morning. So I'm going to save my voice a little bit tonight. Try to get a good night's sleep if I can. And yeah, we'll be back in the morning. So we want to thank the Deputy Governor who was on earlier. We want to thank Lieutenant Colonel Simon Watson, who was on with us, Sasha Tibbetts, VP of Customer Service at CUC, of course, the Honorable Premier Wayne Panton, Honorable Sabrina Turner for Prospect and Minister of Health, Wellness, and Home Affairs, and of course, Kevin, or I should say local weatherman, but he's not in the Cayman Islands. And of course, this storm could be headed for him because he's in the Tampa area. And listen, I know a lot of us have interest in, Cayman Islands have very strong ties to Florida. A lot of us have second homes. I grew up in Tampa. We've got family all over the place, folks. So we want to really ensure that if your children are going to any of the Florida schools, FSU, USF, what else is there? UF, now is the time to also be talking to them. University of Tampa, absolutely, or Hillsborough Community College. Now is the time to start talking to them about what their plans are, because there's a big situation with if they live on campus, will a lot of the universities allow them to remain on campus? I think it certainly depends on where the eventual specific landfall will be. So keep in contact with your kids to figure out, what their contingency plan is. They might want to go further, maybe go up into Central Florida, go to Orlando, whatever, but they should probably start doing that now. Don't wait until the last minute, because of course, what the interstates can look like when people have to start evacuating quickly.
Yeah,
So
I know
folks,
a lot of universities are looking at it, Sandy. I know I got a couple of my cousins, which is one of the reasons I was supposed to be in Cayman right now, and I had to cancel my flight because I needed to stay here, look out for my cousins, as well as protect my own home right here. So I was definitely looking at, what was going on, did find out what their hurricane plans are for my cousins' colleges. I know I work at USF, so I know what the plan is there. But one of my cousins down in Fort Lauderdale, again, their school is in a flood-prone area, and so they will be closing the campus. And if they're telling their students that if they have nowhere to go, they will arrange for them to go to a public shelter. But again, not everyone might want to be sheltering in a public shelter. So, some families might want to get a hotel room for them somewhere else, or they might want to stay with a family or friend somewhere else. I got cousins at USF that's going to likely weather with me here at my home for that system. Even though USF is not closing, unless you're on the St. Pete campus, that school will be evacuating. But then the one on the Tampa campus, again, they could stay on there, but there's going to be, it's not going to be great conditions and stuff as well for that. So they're strongly encouraging folks to go ahead and return home. Classes, they made an announcement about an hour ago that classes are canceled from Monday through Wednesday. So again, I'm going to be picking up my cousin who's going to stay with me, and it's going to be a little safer and a better place to stay. So, but again, in 10 minutes time, Sandy, I don't know if you want to stay on just a little longer. I don't know.
Yeah, we can. I know the premier's busy and he's got to get going. So we will
I'm going to dash
him
myself.
to go.
Yeah. I'm going to dash myself.
So,
Sandy, if you don't mind, I wanted to just point out earlier, the live update that we all watched, I think it was live, where they were talking about the model runs, and they were saying that there was a bias now with the model runs back towards the east. I just wanted to be clear for people that what they were discussing there about shift back to the east was not in relation to Cayman specifically. Right. That was more in relation to Florida.
Yeah.
And that was the bias. That was the eastward shift that they were talking about there, and that's effectively why they have it sort of going straight in towards the Tampa Bay area where Kevin is. So I just don't want people to have heard that and sort of panic and think, oh, geez, it means it's actually coming towards Cayman or closer to Cayman where it has a greater impact. It has shifted, and the track has shifted more towards us, but it's not heading in our direction. But that's not to say it can't. So we always have to be vigilant. And, I know people are going to be checking and watching for the updates regularly. So I'm actually going to leave and I'm going to go down to the National Emergency Operations Center. And I'm going to spend some time with them there because I want to thank all of the agencies that are present there.
Yes.
Because they are going to, they're going to be manning that all night long. The deputy governor's there. He's going to spend the night in the building. I don't know if I will, but I will certainly go down there and spend some time there with them, so I can see exactly what's happening, where they're at with any concerns or issues and preparations.
Yes.
So I just want to say to everybody, be calm, be safe. I think people are well prepared generally, and I want to make sure that I know these things cause a lot of anxiety. I think people just need to understand that we will be there for you. If don't panic. If you have a concern, reach out and speak to somebody, speak to one of the agencies, and call 911 if you need to. If you're really concerned about something. But overall, just be calm and we'll get through this together. We have made a lot of preparations. So I think Cayman will stay strong and get through this. This may not be our only challenge this hurricane season. Hopefully it will be, but we always have to continue to remain prepared. And as Kevin and both of you were saying earlier, everybody was saying earlier, let's not be complacent, whether it's this one or the next one or the one after that. We all have to treat them all seriously, because we have to look after ourselves and our families.
And don't forget, folks, the mental health. I was just going to remind people about the mental health hotline as well. 1-800-534-6463. There are a lot of people who, might just need someone to speak with. So please feel free. I'll stick that number up here for you all to remember it. Feel free to give them a call if you find that you need to talk to someone. There's no shame in talking to someone, none at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's a toll-free number, so do give them a call. Yep. All right, Premier Panton and MP Sabrina Turner, thank you guys so much for joining us again this evening.
Thank you.
We've got about, I think, 6 minutes before the next advisory is going to actually be issued by the National Hurricane Center, so we're going to hang tight for that.
And Sandy, we just got a message from our government communicators with flooding of low-lying areas in Grand Cayman expected as hurricane warning remains in effect. It's just the latest update. A lot of it is very similar to previous updates. It reads that Grand Cayman remains under a hurricane warning, while Cayman Brac and Little Cayman remain under a tropical storm watch. With Tropical Storm Ian closer to Grand Cayman, tropical storm conditions are forecast throughout Sunday night into Monday. Additionally, flooding and wave action are also expected. 4 to 5 foot seas are forecast to impact the south coast of Grand Cayman Sunday night and into early Monday morning, along with 2 to 4 foot storm surge. Consequently, residents located directly along the south coastlines are in areas to be prone to coastal impacts during hurricane events may wish to use the next few hours to seek safe shelter as a precaution. So a lot of the same tips that we've been giving. Again, it's nothing a whole lot of new information inside that release. And it gives, I guess, the latest coordinates that they had on the system. So again, very, very soon, within the next 5 minutes, we should have the next update from the National Hurricane Center to see what that latest information
Looks like
is.
it's gone up to 65 miles per hour there. Let's see if we can bring in some audio here, Kevin. Give me 1 second here.
Center Tropical Storm Ian, now a 65 mile per hour tropical storm, looking much more impressive on satellite tonight. Also want to show you the new forecast track and intensities from the Hurricane Center. Now looking at a Category 4 storm that is coming up towards the west coast of Florida. We'll have much more of this coming up in a few minutes.
Degree advanced.
All right, folks. So we are going to next couple minutes. They're going to give us the full lowdown on that, and we will bring it back up. So yes, Soka says that Wayne is looking fresh and young. It's amazing what a nice shower will do for you. So I think he's pretty tired. So I don't know, how fresh and young he might be feeling, but at the end of the day, he said he just had a quick shower and a dance outside the shower, thanks to the dogs. So he's doing okay. Jessica says we will be in God's hands. update is coming out. Such Garth, yes, it is 65 miles per hour, folks. That's where it's at. Now we're looking at a Category 4 storm. Wow.
No, 1. It'll be close to a Cat 1.
No, I mean 1 coming up first, but it's gonna get to 4.
Yes.
Yikes.
If they're saying 65 miles per hour, that is the very bottom of a Cat 1. Category 1 is from 65 to 83. Sorry, that's category for miles per hour. No, so it's 74 to 95 miles per hour. 65 knots to 83 miles per hour. I'm saying this wrong. I apologize. 65 to 83 knots is 74 to 95 miles per hour. So it still would be considered a strong tropical storm.
Tropical storm, yeah.
If
probably gusts already in the hurricane.
Oh, absolutely. The gusts will certainly be hurricane force, but it's for short duration. So, but again, it is strengthening. You could certainly see that on the satellite picture. We'll wait until they update their website. It's not yet there, but it's going to be there in just a few minutes from now. And then we'll see kind of if it made any shifts or anything like that as well too. A lot of the information is just being updated. The TV stations and that sort of stuff, they do have access to a lot of the back end data from, again, what I was looking at with the hurricane hunters, and so they're able to start getting some of that as they want to be first to report some of that information. So you'll start seeing some of that on some of them. But I'm waiting for the maps and stuff to get updated before we kind of take a little closer look before we wrap up for tonight.
Yeah. We're going in a little bit extra time tonight. As most evenings we've been keeping it around the 1 hour mark, but obviously as we get a little bit closer to the storm, it warrants having a greater discussion about some of these things. So someone actually shared, while we're waiting on that coming up, Kevin, maybe I can pull in this video real quick. Someone shared a bit of what I haven't previewed it yet, but this is a bit of a comedic video. So let me just see if I can pull this one up. This one was I
have the update as well, Sandy, if you want to jump to that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so we got the update here. This is going to be the 10 o'clock Cayman time, 11 p.m. update. And again, like you heard, 65 miles per hour. Movement is now northwest at 13 miles per hour. The center is located at 17.3 degrees north and 81.4 degrees west.
Here we go.
Then, you got it? Okay, go ahead. Pull yours back. Pull yours back.
For hurricane, now moving northwest at 13 miles per hour, 140 miles south of Grand Cayman. Also want to show you the new forecast track and intensities, and there are a lot of new advisories out, storm surge warnings, and also, storm surge watches and tropical storm watches in effect from Englewood, Florida, and on southward. So that is near Sarasota, just a little south of Sarasota and southward. Also tropical storm warnings in effect in the Keys. We're going to have that for you graphically coming up here in just a few minutes. Now, you look at the forecast and, the cone is narrowing. That's a function of time. So each of these points on this forecast cone represents the average forecast error. It's not an impacts cone. It's not telling you where we're going to see some weather and where we're not going to see some weather. It's just showing you the average forecast error, which grows over time. That's
all right, folks. People are saying that they're getting a blank screen for me. So hold on one second. I'm just going to pull it back in here.
The models had shifted more to the west, as some of the models had shifted more to the west yesterday. Now there's been a shift more to the east. We did just get a European model run that has shifted a little more to slightly to the west, but it's still generally about the west coast of Florida and the eastern part of the Gulf of Mexico. And then here you see, this is important. You're talking about a Category 4 storm there. Category 4 intensity is what is being forecast on Wednesday morning, approaching the west coast of Florida, and then moving farther to the north and coming up and towards Tampa as well. But another really important part of this forecast is that each of these forecast points represents a 24-hour period.
Kevin, I think people are saying that they can't see for some reason.
I'm seeing some of the messages coming in. I'm taking a look on it.
I'm trying to check the.
Or
I'm seeing it. Okay, so for those, it's good. For those people that have it in black, refresh your browser. That's likely going to fix your issue. It seems to have just had a little glitch. So hit the refresh button.
You're talking about exceptionally heavy rain. You're talking about hours and hours of wind. I mean, days. of wind in some cases. So, that magnifies everything for the storm to slow down like that. And that is one of the big things that's got me concerned tonight. Here you see the advisories that are up now. Again, that's tropical storm watches in effect from just south of Sarasota, Englewood, and down into Fort Myers, Sanibel, Captiva, down into Naples as well. And then tropical storm warnings in effect for the lower part of the Keys. Also, there are storm surge watches in those same areas where you see those tropical storm watches that are up. And so storm surge is going to be a huge concern here. There's a very shallow shelf. You can walk out a long way when you go to the beach along the west coast in Florida. That allows the water to be piled up more easily. So, again, if you've got a storm that is just crawling up to the coast, either, starting to edge on shore or maybe just offshore, you're talking about a prolonged period of waves and high water there. And so certainly this could have a very high impact along the west coast of Florida. I want to show you the current satellite picture and what's happened in the last 12 hours. Just a remarkably different character as compared to what we saw 12 hours ago. It was really struggling for a lot of the day today, taking on some drier air. There was some shear yesterday. Now some of those things are being cleared away, and that inner core is really getting more and more organized. See the convection kind of wrapping about the center there, and you can see how it's kind of got a spiral nature to it. So this is the storm getting much more organized, got a very cohesive center about it. Would not be at all surprised to see a really big change in intensity between tonight and between tomorrow. It's going to be in an area of exceptionally warm water going forward here. Here's the big shift that happened in the last day, whereas the GFS model and many of its ensemble members were pointing largely to the Florida Panhandle and towards the northern Gulf Coast. Some members are still doing that, but the operational run of the GFS is now more towards the west coast of Florida, more in line with where the European model has been for quite a while now. The European kind of settled in on this idea and then sort of stuck to its guns. Again, the most recent run of that European shifting ever so slightly to the west, but still basically implicating the west coast of Florida. And in that case, we'd be talking about more direct impacts with the core of the storm coming right into places like Naples and Sarasota and Bradenton, and then into Tampa as well. Here's what I'm worried about, as I mentioned. It's that slow speed. This is the GFS model, most recent run here. And so you see this core that is sitting just offshore. If it
All right, Kevin, I think we have a pretty good idea. Gone up by 5 miles per hour, expected to rapidly intensify over the next 24 hours as it starts to make its way past us. A lot of people are saying that they're now hearing it outside. I'm hearing the rain and the thunder and getting ready to go roll in bed myself.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can see the tropical storm force winds are getting closer and closer to where Grand Cayman is. It's just, going to keep on getting closer, and we'll see over the next, probably next 24 hours what's actually going to be happening. And we'll know a lot more by the morning. Again, I will not be at all surprised if the next update in the morning will show Cat 1 hurricane. It's really looking at the pressures, it's falling, it's intensifying. So that just means we just need to continue to hunker down and ride this thing out. It's not a Hurricane Ivan by any means, but it's still a system that could be like a Tropical Storm Grace. So we have to, make sure that we do everything we can to protect each other and ourselves and be smart.
Absolutely. All right, folks. So that's been another segment of Storm Watch 2022 here with your CMR team. We'd like to especially thank our sponsors, Home Gas, for their support of this segment. Make sure that if you are a propane customer, that you are well aware of all the safety. They've been on the show before. But if you have any questions about that, please do give them a call. So Mona Lisa Coley says, good night to all. Heavy rain and thunder in Bodden Town. I think most of the Cayman Islands is going to be experiencing some wet weather tonight. So again, thanks to all of our emergency services, everyone who's over there at NEOC, who's basically working around the clock now as they stood up earlier this afternoon to make sure that everyone here in the Cayman Islands is getting accurate information as quickly as possible and that we should all be safe. So folks, good night to all of you. Thank you. The numbers were very, very high tonight. Kevin on the live stream, almost 500 at one point, really. But we want to thank all of you for making this your number one spot, not just for your general news, but definitely for your weather news as well. We want to be here with you during the storm because sometimes it's good just to hear a familiar voice and to, be able to talk to each other. And I see some of the comments getting interesting. At one point, somebody said that they were a little bit lonely. And so I saw you guys responding to that, and I had to have a chuckle about that as well. But
I want to add to Sandy that we want to really encourage everyone who's watching, because not everyone knows this. Some people are messaging me, and I'm like, I'm on live show right now. And even though I sent it out to my friends, tell your friends and family that CMR is going to be bringing you frequent updates. Check our social media channels, whether it's Facebook or YouTube. I know not everyone has Facebook, but just about everyone can have access to YouTube. We will make sure that we bring you the latest updates as they are coming along. I know tomorrow we'll likely have a whole lot more updates throughout the day. We are here to bring you accurate information as it's coming in, so you could be quite informed on what's going on. And again, show you some of what's going on as well. Do not go out there and try to be independent journalists out inside the weather. That's not going to be safe for you to do that. We're going to be safe. We're going to make sure that we bring you the information. So please follow us on social media. Tell your friends and family to follow us as well, so we can make sure that everyone is being informed.
Someone sent me, I thought it was a video, but it looks like it's actually, let me see. It looks like it's audio. All right. So let me see if I can bring this in as audio, because it looks like it's another humorous one. So give me 1 second here, because we can now actually import audio files. So give me 1 second. I thought it was, for some reason, I was thinking that it was actually a video file, but here we go, folks. Again, nothing beats a little bit of laughter in your life, so please enjoy this. This one is by Curtis. He does a lot of memes and stuff. So this one says, look ya.
Hello, reporting from GETOUTYOURHOUSA. Get out your house. My name is Stanley Curry Thomas, 6 o'clock. Giving you a quick rundown on Tropical Storm Ian. Tropical Storm Ian is now current on the south coast of Kingston, Jamaica, dropping a lot of rainfall. Now this storm is very unpredictable, but it looks like that this storm will be turned into a Category 1, leaving out of Kingston, Jamaica, traveling on to the south side of the Cayman Islands. Now Ian will be some miles away from the Cayman Islands, but the Cayman Islands will still be experiencing about 50 to 60 miles per hour wind. We advise you, if you're in a low area, get out. If you have a pet, let it go. Now we have a link in the Cayman Islands, Cayman Dirt Road.
No. Bring the pets
try
inside.
and tap into there. Cayman Dirt Road, are you there? Cayman Dirt Road, are you there? Hello.
Yes, we're here.
Give us a quick rundown on what you're experiencing on the
Mall
island.
Road, not Dirt Road.
There you got it. Get out. You got to get blow away. Ian will be leaving out of the Cayman Islands, turning into
I don't know who that was.
Category 2 hurricane.
That was Elvis?
Going over the tip of Cuba there and on to the Florida Keys there, which will then become a major hurricane. Do not take this storm lightly. I hope by now you got all your corned beef and your rice together. We'll be reporting again at 8 o'clock. My name is Stanley. Until then, keep safe.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so funny.
Hello.
It sounds a little bit like Elvis from Cayman Brass.
Yeah, right. Sawit wants to know for her elderly mom if there's some sort of local channel with the weather on it. Unfortunately, not really. We don't have local TV anymore. So this is as good as you're going to get. But if she has a radio, tell her to tune in tomorrow morning at 7:30. Bobo 89.1 will be live on there. So
and Sandy, maybe you might need to talk to that person to see if they want to get Roke. And they could watch it on YouTube.
You can watch all the weather. I mean, you can watch all the weather channels, and you get YouTube. So you can always watch us on YouTube if she has access to YouTube as well. So not everybody necessarily has Facebook. We understand that for sure, but we're normally simulcasting on both YouTube and Facebook. So right now we have over 106 people on the YouTube feed as well. So Felipe enjoyed that one. He said, yep, that was pretty funny. All right, folks. Kevin, have a wonderful night. I'll see you tomorrow morning. And all of you, please be safe. Just stay inside. Damien says it's moving now, 11 miles per hour. Yep, it's going to kick up. And of course, 65 miles per hour storm. And we expect it to intensify into a Cat 1 storm, probably by morning, but we'll get an update as soon as we go live tomorrow morning. Kevin?
Have a beautiful night, everyone.
Thank you.
Home Gas is a proud sponsor of CMR's Storm Ready 2022 as we stand ready to support you before, during, and after any storm. Here at Home Gas, our team of managers, field experts, and customer service agents work overtime to ensure that you are covered during hurricanes. With over 65 years of experience, we have been here with you through tropical depressions and major hurricanes like no one else. The same real-world experienced team that saw you through catastrophic Hurricane Ivan is still here, poised to continue offering the best service before, during, and after the storm. Contact us today at 345-949-7474 or email info@homegas.net.